grade. We are ready for language lesson 159. To start today, let's go over some work that you need to do in your books, and then we'll get into what we're learning today. So on page 282, you need to work Think B. On page 283, you have Think C, Write D, Remember E. Let's go over look closely. So if a sentence does not have a linking verb, it will not have a predicate adjective or a predicate nominative. If it does have a linking verb and it does have one of those complements, it will probably be found right after the linking verb. Unless the sentence is a question, then the linking verb may come first and your predicate nominative and predicate adjective will be right after the subject. Okay, it talks about that in the box there, so you can look there to follow what I'm saying. To see if you have chosen the correct word for your predicate adjective or predicate nominative, read the subject. For the predicate adjective, just go ahead and read your subject, verb, and predicate nominative together and see if it sounds correct. So on page 284, we're talking about diagramming complements, and that is what our lesson is about today after you work some review sections on those other pages. Diagramming direct objects, indirect objects, predicate adjectives, and predicate nominatives. So how do we do that? Now I have 4 sentences on the board, and we're going to just diagram them one at a time. First of all, let's talk about how to diagram direct objects. So a direct object, first of all, before we start diagramming, it's important that we look at our sentence and either just label the words in our head so we know what's going on, or just label them in your book. You can put the abbreviation of the kind of word they are right above them just to organize your thoughts before you get started diagramming. So let's find our verb. Hit is our verb. He is our subject. Then we have the baseball. Now that we have an action verb, and baseball is saying what he hit, so that is our direct object. Now the is an article or an adjective describing baseball. So we can go ahead and write adjective above the. Now we should know how to get started diagramming. So let's go ahead and diagram our subject and verb like normal. We have our middle line, our verb to the right, and our subject to the left. Now, for direct objects, when you diagram them, you diagram direct objects on the same line with the verb, with the action verb, and you just put a straight line after the action verb, and then put your direct object right after that straight line, okay? So he hit baseball. He hit line baseball, okay? And any adjectives describing the direct object go underneath the noun just like they normally would for describing a noun, okay? So that's how we do our direct objects. Now we have the catcher threw him the ball. Let's label our words here. So first of all, what is our verb? Threw is our verb. Catcher is our subject. Now we have an action verb, and the ball again tells what he threw. So ball is our direct object. We know that the is an adjective. Now threw him answers to whom? It's who he threw it to. So what kind of word answers to whom? Indirect object, right? So him is an indirect object. Now the is an article or an adjective describing catcher. So let's just go ahead and write that down there. Okay, now we can get started diagramming. So we have our verb goes to the right of our middle line here, through. Catcher, our subject, goes to the left. We have the as an adjective describing catcher. Now we know how to diagram ball because it's our direct object, and we just learned how to do that. Right after our action verb through, after putting a diagonal line there, we're going to write our word ball, a vertical line, through ball. Now we have an adjective again, so we're going to write the ball. Now, what about our indirect object? How do we diagram indirect objects? Now, indirect objects are diagrammed You'll learn about diagramming prepositional phrases soon or sometime, and it's a lot the same. When you diagram indirect objects, they simply go right underneath your action verb. Okay, so he threw to whom? He threw to him. So instead of just going on a line like that, like an adjective would, you're going to make a line, like a slanted line, and then another line going horizontal. And your indirect object is going to go, instead of going here, it's going to go right here. Okay? So that is how you diagram indirect objects. Just the catcher threw ball, the ball, and we have him, who he threw it to, just right underneath through here. Not just a slanted line, but on the horizontal line there. This part is just left blank, okay? So indirect object, direct object. Now, predicate adjectives and predicate nominatives. They are diagrammed the same as each other, so let's get started. We have that picture was very good. What is our verb? Was is the verb. Who or what was. Picture is our subject. Here we have an adjective describing picture. Now, was good. We have a linking verb, so we know our complements are going to be predicate adjectives and predicate nominatives, not direct objects and indirect objects. So we have good, and that is describing our subject, okay? So that means this is a predicate adjective. Good is describing picture, and it comes after a linking verb, so it's a predicate adjective. Very is describing good. So very would be an adverb here. Okay, so let's go ahead and diagram this. We have picture, let's put our verb first, was, picture was, that picture was very good. So direct predicate adjectives and predicate nominatives are diagrammed almost the same as direct objects. They're diagrammed right after the verb, but the difference is that instead of drawing a perfectly vertical line, your line is going to be slanted towards the subject. So think about how you could think that our predicate nominative is renaming our subject, our predicate adjective is describing the subject, so it's just, they have a line pointing back to what they're modifying. You can kind of think of it like that. So both direct objects, predicate adjectives, and nominatives all go here right after the verb. But for the predicate adjectives and nominatives, the line is slanted. So remember that. Now we put very right underneath good. Okay, then we have baseball is my favorite game. Let's go ahead and quickly do that one. So we have a verb, we have a subject. Now game is renaming baseball. So game is a predicate nominative. It follows a linking verb and it's renaming baseball. This is an adjective. This is an adjective. Okay, so here we go. We have is to the right of our line. We have baseball to the left. Now, game, or predicate nominative, goes after a slanted line after the verb. My favorite. Okay, baseball is my favorite game. So in your book on page 284, they give an example of how to diagram each kind of these words. So look there if you need a reference, and think back on the bottom of the page gives a good run over of what we just talked about. Your assignment, in addition to what you have in your book, I'm going to get you to diagram 3 sentences. So turn to page 280 and circle the 3 sentences that I tell you. On page 280, circle sentence, sorry, it's 4 sentences actually. No, it's 3. Okay, on page 280, circle number 1, circle number 2, and circle number 17. number 1, number 2, and 17 of Think on page 280. Diagram those sentences. That is all for our lesson today. Let me know if you have any questions. Work carefully, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.